darlings. My name is Maria. I am an artist, and I, like many others, have imagined characters and worlds inside my head for as long as I can remember. My favorite activity was always to stare into space, as a fantasy that only I know plays out in my head like a movie. Much to everyone around me's dismay, as I mutter and emote like a freak to the visions only I am bearing witness to, as if I'm being tormented. And for the longest time, things stayed exactly like this. These characters, places, scenarios I would imagine and twist around constantly, only existing within the confines of my own mind. And I believed I was content. Or rather, I convinced myself I was. But what it truly was that I was afraid, extremely reluctant for 3 reasons. Firstly, to turn an idea into a physical creation, not only is it daunting, but it opens you up to being perceived. How horrible, I know. And for me of the past, it would be a nightmare to be seen as cringe. Secondly, there was a nagging worry that I wouldn't be able to portray the stories and characters properly as I envisioned them in my head. The third reason was a result from the mixing of these two. Because I was terrified to be appraised and anxious about my creations, I had a low self-confidence in regards to art. I didn't believe my ideas had any merit, which is absolutely never true for anyone. Your creations are distinctly yours and precious in every regard. It's easy to become overly preoccupied with what others opine of your work. It's especially sensitive because this work is born out of your heart, so it can feel like you're throwing yourself vulnerable to a pack of hungry wolves. But it's important to remember that cringe is not real. It's not. It's a conspiracy. It's joyless souls that are bent on crushing the passion burning within you because they've sadly had their own flame tarnished by a society that devalues humanity and authenticity. And how will you ever know if you can truly actualize the visions in your head if you never even begin to try? It's 100% always going to be worth it to pick up your creative tool and work your unique magic. Now that that's established, where do we even begin with creating our own characters? Perhaps you have a small idea, lingering and lacking substance. This is absolutely perfect because within this there is plenty of potential. It's essentially a blank canvas, leaving room for all opportunities and growth, at the cost of it being overwhelming, not knowing where to begin. We can take this small idea and begin to refine its edges, fleshing it out into a 3-dimensional character that people can emotionally resonate with. It's important to consider the context of your character first. Is this an original character existing within an original story, or one within an already established universe that has its own fundamentals? Depending on that, you will have to navigate differently. You have more creative freedoms when it comes to creating characters for your own world, but when it comes to creating OCs for existing media, it's a bit more limited, not at all in a negative way. It's kind of like a double-edged sword because you have the foundation already set for you, but now you have to familiarize yourself with it and build upon that. So in some ways it can be easier, in others more difficult. Each has their pros and cons, but they're both equally entertaining. And after considering the context, it's also vital to ponder their aura and their purpose. Okay, what the hell do I mean by aura? Essentially, their energy, their personality, and how that performance might come off to others. I tend to think of it in 3 layers. The character's surface level personality that's present in most interactions. Think of certain character traits like charismatic, timid, diligent, faithful, selfish. Then, how these traits are actually presented when they're in scenarios. The energy that they exude. Is it positive, negative, overwhelming, calming? And finally, their core. Their most authentic self that dictates their actions and decisions and is almost never obvious from the get-go. We tend to have masks we wear, whether we are conscious of it or not, sometimes stemming from unprocessed emotional wounds. For example, a stoic character could have the personality traits of being capable and resilient. The energy they exude is firm and dependable, but internally, this character could be acting this way because they are suppressing the desire to soften and be vulnerable. Another example is a domineering character with the personality traits of being charismatic and manipulative. Their energy is one that leads you into a false sense of security until she pulls the rug from under you and reveals her true colors. Internally, her desire to stay in control and be revered is born of a frail ego and the desperate need to be loved. These are very specific, but just to give you ideas and visual of creating layered characters, it's always important to ask why. And asking why leads us into the next point I mentioned earlier, which is purpose. What role is your character going to play? Are they someone integral, minor? What lesson are they serving to teach us? Will they have a positive development, or will they fall victim to their flaws and develop negatively? Are they someone completely stagnant? There's so much to consider when it comes to purpose. It's kind of crazy bonkers, you know? And it's okay if you don't immediately know the purpose your character serves. I find that that's more common, and that the more I interact with my characters, writing and drawing for them, I slowly piece it together as I go, like a puzzle. There are plenty of books about character creation and development that offer so much knowledge, inspiration, and motivation. One I enjoy and that has stuck with me is K.M. Whalen's Creating Character Arcs. One of the key components it discusses is the lie that your character believes. An internal truth that doesn't hold up in reality, but that they refuse to release. And how this lie is sprouted from your character's ghost. A haunting event or pattern that clings onto you no matter how much you grow. Every decision is influenced by this ghost. And through this ghost, your character discovers their want, something that they constantly seek and look forward to, but this want directly opposes their need. And through this struggle, they eventually must come to terms with the truth. It's life or death to accept or deny this fundamental truth. To create a compelling character, it's essential to consider these 5 factors and intertwine them when crafting. For all my OCs that are integral to the story that I'm crafting, I write not only about their lie, ghost, want, need, and truth, but it's important to think of the direct after effects of such things, such as the symptoms following a lie, the effects of a truth, the hauntings of a ghost, the roots of a want, and the prerequisites for a need. I'll use another one of my characters as an example here. My dearest, most darling Allure. Allure, she struggles quite a lot. The lie she believes is that it's pointless to live in a cursed, withering world with nothing in it worth trusting or saving. Symptoms of it being that she blames her very existence itself when things around her are wrong and wishing she was never born. In addition, isolating and running away from opportunities of vulnerability and growth out of fear. Her ghost is a combination of the abuse she faces in her childhood along with her watershed moment, the night that she took a life and ran away from the royal family that imprisoned her. The hauntings from that is that taking a life cemented in her brain that she is truly the awful monster everyone said she was, and though she's technically free now, she is still shackled in how she runs from a future she believes is undeserved. The only thing she wants is the only thing she's convinced she deserves, death. And the roots of this are the abuse that she faced in her youth that robbed her adolescence, molding her perception of herself that she's terrible. This mindset, though toxic, grants her a false sense of security in the sense that she can continue to stay confined and resigned to life, not having to take a fearful step forward. Her want is entangled with her lie. She believes she shouldn't live, and it distracts herself from the concerns of the living that are overwhelming for her. Lots of these factors are often going to be very interconnected and influenced by one another. And what my Miss Allure truly needs, though, is to stop mistaking her desire to live a free life as a desire to die, with the prerequisites being becoming open in spirit to the unknown and allowing others into your life despite fear, plus working on healing her emotional wounds, her trauma responses, her detachment and dissociation, which isn't the release that she deceives herself for it to be. And finally, the truth she grapples with is that the lens you view the world through is under your control and shouldn't stay stagnant. Only you can push forward and afford your life reason. So basically, life is worth the living. The effects of this truth is understanding that not everything is out to harm you, and that opening yourself to experiences despite past wounds is an acquired strength. In addition, seeing and reacting to things with more clarity while maintaining an alignment to your authentic self. There's so much thought that goes into this, and it can feel like a gargantuan task to begin figuring out all this about your OCs, but it's so worth it. And I find whenever I'm writing and can't figure out how would this character react to this specific situation, I look back at my notes about their lie and everything surrounding it, and it helps me immensely in taking the next step. The task feels much more lighter and doable when you microdose it. Like, oh, this week I'll write and brainstorm about my OC's lie. With effort, eventually these small tasks will build up and amount to something grand and fulfilling. Me personally, I freaking love tarot. Tarot at its heart is a journey, and this journey begins with the Fool, someone innocent and naive, ready to take a leap of faith. The cards are all the ups and downs, phases, revelations, and experiences through life of the Fool, ultimately ending with the World, an ultimate sense of completion. And through learning tarot, I've found so much spiritual satisfaction. It's allowed me to practice viewing situations through many new lenses that have granted me wonderful opportunities of clarity and reflection. Each single card has a narrative of its own with so much significance and value. I enjoy finding which tarot card suits each of my OCs most, giving them all a tarot adjacent that their story won't perfectly mirror but reflect and take inspiration from. And for the Fool, I have assigned Roulette. Roulette is a doll who was sprung into life. They live life completely detached from the decaying world and treat life as their stage and the people surrounding as props for them to use or discard. They are a chameleon, adapting to every situation, mirroring and mimicking without any set sense of self or morality. Roulette's struggle lies within reflecting and gaining the courage needed to take that initial leap of faith to develop an identity of their own and not just constantly perform. It's so entertaining researching tarot and recognizing, oh yeah, this card fits this little blorbo perfectly. And it's given me so much inspiration with story writing too. Sometimes I'll incorporate tarot imagery into that character's lore somehow. It's just so fun. Totally recommend. Another fun thing you can do is assign an MBTI to your OC. MBTI, or 16 personality, is just one of the many online personality assignment tests. There's also Enneagrams and Jungian archetypes. There's so much. I've always found it so fascinating. I'm talking specifically about MBTI because that's what I tend to see more of online when it comes to these pseudoscience personality tests. MBTI consists of 16 personality types that your character could potentially fall into. You could take the test and answer along with the mindset of your character to see which type you get, or you can also learn of how exactly the structure for these personality types are built and therefore be able to deduce it which is most fitting that way. MBTI is split into 4 sections, each with 2 directions. The first being extroversion and introversion, the second sensors and intuitives, then thinkers and feelers, and lastly, judgers and perceivers. If you have a character who is more inclined to extroversion, intuition, feeling, and perceiving, then you would have an ENFP, just like me. And I feel like I just explained this really poorly. I'm not sure how to explain it succinctly since there's so much information regarding MBTI. Of course, personalities and people are complex. It's impossible to assign everyone a single box that they fit. But MBTI helps to get a general understanding of what traits one is more inclined to. Assigning an MBTI for your character can take a while, and they may morph as they continue to evolve. Just as us humans change, our personalities aren't stagnant either, which is important to consider. Some other fun things to do with your OCs that I won't get into too much detail with is making a vision board or Pinterest board for them. Especially if you're just starting out with them, this is a great way to find inspo. along with making Spotify playlists. Ugh, I love this. My favorite thing to do is to listen to music and then imagine my OCs in it like it's a music video. You can pick songs based off vibes, or maybe the lyrics hit a little close to their lore. You can also choose to make quizzes based off your OCs. The options are endless. I made a personality U quiz that assigns you one of my OCs based on your answers. It was simpler than I thought it would be to make, and it makes for a cute little addition to my artfight profile. And lastly, a wiki page for your OCs. I used this template by Rukidut and it works like a charm. There's so many out-of-the-box things you can do to help flesh out your OCs or even just toy around with them for funsies. There's not at all a straight-fire way to discovering your OCs. It's trial and error and always ongoing back and forth. It's one thing to have an idea in your head, but a whole other thing to actualize it in a way that you feel satisfied. And a part of being a creator is accepting that this is a truly never-ending battle. It can tear apart at you or drive you forward depending on how you handle it all. All of these emotions and struggle can be transformed into something beautiful. And creating, it's like nourishment for the soul. The more you create, the more acquainted you become with yourself, and naturally, your art elevates. I still have a lot I want to practice and learn in regards with art and characters and story creation. Every day is a wonderful new opportunity for growth that we should all take advantage of. And that's about all I have to say. If you have anything you'd like to share about all of this, I would love to hear, especially if it's about your OCs. I love hearing people yap of the creations they feel passionate for, and I hope that there's something you were able to take from this video.
I would say feel free to subscribe, but I don't know, man. I'm definitely not going to be posting here frequently or consistently, only when inspiration strikes and I can't ignore it. And the topics will be varied, but if you're still interested, you can, and you could also keep up with my socials that I'm just slightly more active on, my art Instagram and artfight, and maybe I'll see you soon, hopefully. Bye bye.